right. This means I'm live, I hope. It says I'm streaming. It says I'm doing the thing. I think I did the transition right. So hello everybody, welcome to Paintin time. This will be the last Paintin time we do, associated directly with the Tales from the Red Dragon Inn Kickstarter, but the occasional Thursday stream might end up being Paintin time in the future. That's something to keep an eye on with our social media outlets, with our Facebook page, with our Twitter. You'll see announcements there. Usually, we're good about getting announcements for the Thursday streams out the Friday before. So that's one of the better ways to keep track of our schedule. Hopefully my microphone level is correct. I'm not too quiet. Yada yada. Today, I have an exciting new mini to show you and then paint. Da da da. Where's the correct focus area for our beer goat? I'm trying a little something with light in my studio today. So hopefully the models will be a little bit more visible. I'm going to tweak the focus on this guy. Huh. There we go. We're just going to call that good for now. I'm really pleased with how the sculpt turned out for this model. So many details that you can see in the illustration have absolutely made it into our final sculpt here, including so many bottles hanging off of his little goat horns, stacked up chaotically in the little box on top of his back, the barrels, his little beard, that he's got a necklace of steins around him. The spigot tail is actually original to the model. It's a little piece of genius from our sculptor, and I think also from Sam, just being like, that butt looks incomplete. He needs a spigot tail. Yes. And just the little mechanical detailing on his legs and his little goggles. I love this beer goat model. I think he is pretty dang great. So I'm going to see how much I can get him painted up during this stream. Which, you know, nobody holds your breath for a completed beer goat in one stream. But we'll see. I was hoping to get an order of some contrast paints before this stream. I made that order on the 5th. They are not here yet. So, I guess I'll have to keep waiting. Hello, Adventure Kid 8. Welcome to the stream. Let's see here. I guess my big question is, do I want to go with metallic paints all the way? Or do I want to try non-metallic metals on this boy? I don't know, and I think while I'm deciding, I'm going to be a coward. And I'm going to just work on some of the wood that's on our goat's body. So I'm going to go in and have some intense brown slapped onto our palette here. If it will leave the dropper. Clogging trouble. I was also not clever and did not grab myself some paper towel before starting the stream. So remember, do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you've got all of your stuff ready before you paint. But, you know, unless you've got a camera strapped to your chest, you've probably got a little more leeway to go and grab something than I do. I think this is probably appropriate. This might be a little bit too thinned. I've put in some paint mixing medium. Try to make it thinner. Oh, Adventure Kid, what announcement made your day? Tell us. I think that's light enough that I'll actually use it on both of these. I feel like that plug is wood. So I'm not going to worry about hitting it with a different color. If I had still a third camera pointed at me, I think I'd have it going from overhead so that you can see that I'm actually balancing my painting hand on my camera sometimes. Dune Part 2! Ah, yes. I've been seeing a lot of happy noises about Dune Part 1, so that sounds pretty good. When I heard who was directing it, I was like, oh, they're going to make it look very pretty. And that's basically what I care about. So, mission accomplished. But I have not seen it yet. But, like, also I don't care about spoilers, so if you want to be like, oh yeah, he is the Knick-Knack Patty Shack in chat, then just go for it, it's fine. I didn't hate the original version of the Dune films. Well, I didn't hate the David Lynch version. I was extremely confused by the David Lynch version, but I don't see that as a bad thing per se. Ah, seen some part 1 twice now since I dragged some friends with me for the second time. Fun. Did a lot of interesting new details sort of pop out at you on second viewing? I knew some things really reward second viewings. Oop, I've got a little bit of wood color on his little metal shoulder there, so I'm going to clean that up. Got everything on the first viewing. That's cool. going to make that underbox a little bit varied. Going to get that middle plank with this color. Just have it be like they use two different kinds of wood to make it. I'm being a little sloppy here, but it is okay. There's definitely going to be a lot of layers of paint going on these barrels. So, yeah, it looks like that's getting started. Are there any other little wooden parts that I want to get with this right now? I think I'll use this as a little dark base for the sort of woven thatch that's on the bottom of this bottle here, on his little beard. We'll have to say that the final manufactured version of this model is definitely going to be different than this, because the delicate features are just not going to make it into your average mold, and the legs need to be made a little thicker, quite frankly, because I had a little fun basing this bad boy. You know what? This is a good base color for the wooden handle on his little tail. That's just how that's going to go. So expect some changes. Probably the biggest changes are going to happen around his horns. Because this kind of detail is just really very tough to toss into a mold, and his little beard is probably going to get cut, because these are actually somewhat individual in the sculpt, in the 3D model, because our sculptor loves detail. But hopefully manufacturing will maintain a very nice, crisp model with very cool details. I think next, sort of a lighter wood color, something like probably just bone white. There we go. The bone white is not stuck in the bottle. Bone white would like to join me. Bone white is ready to party. A little bit of Vallejo glaze medium. Because I'm very ABG. Always be glazing. this bottom barrel here. And try to clean off some of that metal band that I'm going to want to get later. Trying to get it in there. I actually discovered a new company that makes painting handles. Can't remember what they're called. It's like Mighty Miniatures or something like that. But theirs is very much a, hey guys, we know that you're taking your models and you are poster tacking them to a bottle cap. What if you had something a little more substantial, just a little taller, to screw that bottle cap onto? And then we put a little stabilizer bar up in there to hang over the top, and you know, you could have a good time like that. So naturally I was like, well, I like painting handles. I like having a good time. I'll see that when I see it. There's a little bit more on the barrels. As per usual, I've got a little bit of buildup on the tip of the brush. And it's not so bad. A little bit of gentle rubbing off on the fingers. It just takes care of that. Well, whether or not I do non-metallic metals, I think underpainting the metal will still do a lot of good work. So I'm going to see if I can't get a nice, probably like a good orange brown going for the goat's body and his little neck carapace bits and his upper legs. So let's see here. This medium flesh is a little too light. This is pretty dark, but after I try to drop some orange into it, maybe that'll be alright. This bronze flesh tone's kind of alright. I'm just going to keep that available. Put a fair amount down. This orange is going to be a lot of the surface. So I don't have a lot of oranges in my paint collection right now. Narrator voice. She did not have any oranges specifically. So I think what I'm going to do is try to make something that is a bit more yellow, aka with this guy, and see if I can't pull it towards orange by adding some red. Stuff's still coming out of the bottle pretty thin after 10 years. That's pretty nice. that's pretty clogged. It's kind of trying to come out. Oh, it's like clay. All right. Let's see what kind of color I end up with. Too much red. It's very easy to end up with too much red, but it's nice and dark, and I don't know, I think it makes a good dark base coat. I'm going to use it. Let's get him in focus. Sweet. And just get going. This little round part over the shoulders here. These metals, I need to not just hit that. Ugh, these bolts. I'm just gonna do them like this. We can fix the rest in post. One thing that I'm noticing now that I've added a lot more light to my situation is that the shadows are even more dramatic than before, so just something to watch out for. Alright guys, trying my best here. Not to just make it hand cam. It's supposed to be mini cam. Get my brush off here. Swipe away some buildup. And get back to it. Oh, I'm liking this as a base coat. Oop. Hey there, you. Little spot of unpainted miniature. There you go. Same with you. And there's kind of some fill space to this model. A little bit of, there's probably nothing here, but we need to put material here so that the model is stable and holds together. It is printable. You have to allow for some of that. super worried about most of the areas next to this sort of deep red-orange, because most of the areas that are next to it are a nice dark gray. So I know that my sins will be hidden pretty well once I start doing that color. Just want to get a good even coat of this. Well, on the art you can see, let's kind of go around it. So there's that about as well as I can do. Oh, anybody in chat been doing any painting over the last month? Or any just purchasing, any adding to the pile of shame? So I know I've been. Just the instant I got half finished with some of my new models, I'm like, oh, it's time. I can add to the pile again. I've earned it. I've almost been good. And here I want to be a little more careful because that wood's going to be a pretty light color. Nice. Paint's starting to feel a little tacky on the brush, so I'm going to give it a little clean. And swipe away some buildup at the very tip. Doing this maneuver gets pretty easy if you clean it regularly. I highly recommend getting yourself a puck of the Masters brush cleaner. Then just every time your brush starts to get a little too gross, every time you're done painting, give that brush a nice clean. Also, one finicky little thing that you're supposed to do with nice brushes that I always forget about is you're actually supposed to store them horizontally and not vertically. Because if you store them vertically, the paint travels down the bristles and into the ferrule, which we've already discussed. Paint go in ferrule, brush dead. The brush loses its spring. That quality that allows it to have a nice point gets swamped and glued together with the paint. I see you, little unpainted spot. especially if you're a paint snob like me, and you're like, well, I want good paintbrushes. I want them $15 to $20 Winsor & Newton guys. Then proper storage that keeps them from getting gunked and makes them last longer is pretty important. I'm going to try and actually get that action on camera. A little bit of sloppiness here, but alright, I got some on one of the barrels. I don't like that. Let's try and clean that off. Okay. The one kind of brush that I like using, and I just can't for the life of me keep one alive for more than a couple of weeks, is a good liner brush. So like good, here we go. A good long, what is this guy here? This one's a 6-0 liner from American Painter. This one actually looks relatively fresh. I don't think that I haven't put a little bend in the end of this one quite yet. So that's nice. I'll just put them right there. Let's see if I want to get into it later. And I've been working with this one paint color I've mixed for a minute. Carefully and perhaps a little fearfully rehydrate my sponge near it. Just get back in there. This is a little tough to see on the painting handle. Let's take it off for a second. Let's see if I can point it out. The light's not easy. Anyways, this little part here wraps around to the other side, which means that the leg from the other side, on the inside underneath the body, has a little bit of this orange red to be painted down. And that's kind of tough to reach. There we go. I'm liking getting this orange down. It's really helping me imagine how this is going to look when I'm done. the paint's starting to feel a little tacky on the brush, so time to clean it. I found myself casting about looking for more things to paint. Because I've got the bug. I even went down and went, oh, well, what if I got some new GW figures? What then? What if? Are any of these good? So I got myself some of these Griff Hounds. Because they look pretty cool, and I want to paint them really bad, because, you know, what if dog, but with bird paint scheme? Birds come in a lot of pretty cool colors, so that's going to be fun. Also, I don't know, they just kind of look charming. I had to have a discussion with a friend of mine about, like, why do we like these? Why are these good? Because in real life, no. Never. Give me a dog with a lion tail and a bird head? No way. I don't want a smarter dog that screeches and imitates human speech. No. But, you know, put it on a model, a little figurine, and suddenly I'm like, I love them. I die for them. And I think that the answer is kind of another jaunt into the uncanny valley. Like, you and I, we see dogs often enough to know what one is supposed to look like, right? And what sort of features on their face makes them personable. When you're sculpting a model, that kind of stuff can be kind of hard to convey unless you do it a lot and you're really good at it. So all of the strength that a sculptor puts into, say, sculpting a human face that doesn't look really, really sad can be hard to muster for a doggo if you don't do it frequently. But if you sculpt, say, a weird fantasy animal, and you get just a certain handful of cues correct, your brain doesn't look at bird-dog combinations all day. And therefore it can go, this kind of looks like how a doggo would look if it were doing this. I love them. Alright, it's going to be a little incognito while I get the underbelly a bit more. Sorry guys, but trust me, I'm painting right now. And it's fun. And I'm just going to slop it on over here because it's underneath the body. It's going to be easy to cover with a darker paint. And I'm getting impatient. There we go. Ugh, swag, I love it. Time to move up that neck. So it looks like we have that orange color kind of here, here, and here. And then a little bit here. And a patch here that these little hooks are mounted to. And then in between these on the neck, it's kind of a dark rubber articulation point. Once again, not too nervous about getting that lighter color in that darker area. Oop, oop. Okay, everything's fine. This is why paint handles are still good, even if I'm not using one for camera purposes. Oh, it's getting a little dry on the brush. My nemesis. Oh, it looks like I did the thumbnail scrape just a little bit off right here. It's okay. It's easy to fix. Gonna give that a second. Clean the brush off again. Getting a little tougher to swipe off any buildup on the ends. So I might have to switch brushes in a minute. In the meantime, in case you missed it, here's a few updates on how some of the other minis are going. Here is where Gurky is at. It's a bit difficult to see, but I went in and I painted in some brass on his belt buckle. I added some lighter kind of goldish color on the metal caps on the ends of his dagger sheaths. I got some metal on his daggers, both the brassy handles and cross hilts, and the nice steely blades. Got a darker leather color down on the bottom of his shoes. I've been working on his face, which is coming together pretty nicely. One thing that I really like about this sculpt is you can actually see his teeth in front. So that's going to be pretty fun to paint and highlight. I'm finally getting happy with the variety of tone on his skin. That's taken a few washes to get to, but they've been very transparent washes because I don't want to go too hard on that. Oh, the cloak's been doing pretty well. Did one more coat of just a nice green wash to bring everything down into a nice even tone. So Gurky's approaching finish. It's really just a few detail cleanups here and there, and doing his eyes and his teeth and those bandages around his arms. So I think I'm probably just going to do those a bit of a bone color and then call it a day. Zot, I went in and whoosh, here he is with his green wizard fire in his hands. And of course his skin and his beard have been painted in. He's got very dark eyebrows in the art, which looks a little corny here, but I'm rolling with it. It's fine. He's still got some pretty squinty eyes, so when I do those, that's going to be a little intense. I've painted silver onto his cool skull dome. And he's got a little red gem in the center of his forehead that I'm going to have to hit soon. But once I've gotten that done, he's basically good to go. Very cool. Let's see, Deirdre here. Deirdre here is done all but for the crying. The crying being dotting her eyes, because the whites of her eyes are down, and the dark around her eyes is down. And now it's just that, and then basing and sealing. So I'm pretty happy with how she's turned out. Yes, it's blue on blue, but there's enough variety for me that I'm real pleased. And the drapery on her dress is gorgeous, and once again, Keaton just did a great sculpt. I can really replace most of my commentary with Keaton did a great sculpt on this model, and it's all true. Eve here has her skin down. I've actually been focusing on getting her skin to a good tone. I probably need to give it highlights again. A very gentle glazed highlight. Her blonde hair has been based down. I think that's 2 coats. So a little bit of bright highlights, and she's going to be pretty much done with that hair. And it'll probably be just sin coverage and sealing it up. By sin coverage, by the way, I mean the times where I gently and accidentally and without noticing touched the brush filled with skin color onto this black stave. And that's going to be easy to fix. Let's see. That's that for that. Let's jump back into beer goat time. Let's see, here's where we were at. We were working on the neck. Moisten that up. Let's hit this. And this, and I'm going to try not to get too much on what looks like that rope. The rope's definitely going to be a fairly light color. There we go. So a little neck segment here. I don't want to get it on this bottle. Mostly because I haven't decided on the color yet. Same with this one. Nice. Ugh, boy. Getting between those horns is going to be fun. So why deny ourselves the fun? Let's just dive right in. Do it now. Do it live. Oh yeah, that's getting on a lot of other things that are not this. One in too deep now. Leroy Jenkins. Let's see if I can't clean off that little bit of horn that I touched. Nope, it's too late. Sometimes you do not have much time to fix errors. okay. You can always do it again later. It's time to adjust my legs here. Oof. Check the moisture of my wet palette sponge. I think it's pretty safe to say that basically this whole back of the goat's hand cam, this whole back of the goat's head here, and his little ears and so on, it's also going to be this orange color. I don't have infinite time to work with this color, I mean, because I can see it drying out on the wet palette even. Remember, I live in a desert, so that definitely affects the performance that I get out of my palette. Now this right here is a strap, actually. Probably covered up the rear part of that strap. So I'm going to have to probably hit that with a couple of coats of the actual light leather color that I'm going to use for it. Nerds. F's in chat. There we go. Just had this very stubborn little bit of model that did not want to take paint. There we go. Sorry about the return of hand cam. Try to get behind his ears. Oh, I love it. Gotta clean off my brush a little bit more here. How's that? It's doing pretty good. Let's get a little bit more of this under his chin here. And unfortunately, the base is going to cover up a little some of the action. There. All right. There's our boy just looking good. this is the last few minutes of using this brush before I clean it again. It's starting to get fussy. Alright, do I do that little patch of orange on his, under his chinny chin chin? Or do I get lazy? I think I get lazy. I'm a coward. I'm going to use this paint to do a little bit of sin coverage over here. And hunt for places where I have missed the bottle. There's a little bit right here on his neck that I'm not satisfied with. There we go. A little bit right here. A little bit under this block. A little bit right there. Ooh, spot. There we go. Alright. Well, I am quite pleased with how this fella's doing. Alright. Well, now that we've hit just about the 1 hour mark, I would like to show y'all another good lad that we've gotten a sculpt for, as well as a miniature print. Here's Otto. Here he is in all of his robotal glory. Tank treads, little buttons, tiny toggle switches on his head. I like this guy. Should check and look up a picture of him. Otto, what do you look like? What your color scheme? Do, do, do. I have so much reference material, so it's hard to get through. Oh, all I have are the different Otto the Witch Doctor, Otto the Tinkerer, with an apron? Cute, but not what we're doing here. Otto variant. Otto, yo! Oh, he's a lot of grays. He's a lot of light gray, medium gray, and dark gray, and light gray, and dark gray, and dark gray. So he's a little less exciting to paint. He has some details that get exciting. In fact, I'm just going to give him a couple of red buttons right now. Because he has those details. Gotta bring OBS to the front so I can make sure that I am not doing hand cam. Kind of blopped it there. It does not yearn to be fixed. That sucks a little for future me, but I'm not future me right now. I'm just gonna blop it on here. Fix it later. Correction in post. Sometimes I just want to see the world burn. Sometimes I just want to put a little progress on a mini, even if it means that I have to solve a problem later. So this guy looks cool. Oh, he also has such trustworthy blue eyes. So that'll be fun to hit later. So we actually printed Otto in a couple of different sizes. So here's Otto. Here's Otto's little baby cousin. And for scale, like here's here's Deirdre. I'm having a hard time holding them all flat at the same angle, so let's try this. Shoot. So big Otto is a little too big, and small Otto's too small. But I think after having this test print in our hands for a minute, we're going to get it just right. Because he's got to be big enough to be satisfying to move around and believable as an adventurer, but he can't be so much bigger than our heroes. It's a little bit too much. So let's see here. Back to our beer goat friend. I think one of the next colors to hit is probably a warm color, right? Well, let's use up a bit of this milky sort of wood color for this. Oh, that's thickened up a fair amount since I last used it. In the background, you can hear my girlfriend saying that she's not good with computers, which is a lie. She's excellent with computers. She's in the top 10th percentile. But computers is hard. And kind of the more you know, the more you're like, oh, luck, spit, and baling wire makes these things go. Good, good. There's definitely a challenge when it comes to talking about computers. There we go. It's pretty light. Now we're going to pay off that little trick that we started a little while ago where we pre-painted one board of this box. Kind of a darker color. Get these lighter colors right next to it. And that's going to make this part of the model look a little bit more interesting. Without really pushing details too hard. Try to gently hold it this way. There we go. Let me get this color on his nicely painted orange butt. There we go. And a little bit more here. And a little bit more here. There we go. Alright, now I'm really done with this brush, so I'm going to try to put it someplace. I'm not going to just grab it. So it looks like what we need next color-wise is sort of a more yellowish color that can maybe get blended up into a gold. Let's see. I have my trusty Winsor & Newton Series 7 number 1 brush, which, if you recall, is a pretty big brush. It's not small. I also found that Winsor & Newton makes miniature watercolor painting brushes. So this is for painting a watercolor portrait that's like, it's this big. You know, you're painting a human face and a bust on a thumb-sized piece of paper. And so here's the number one for that. So let's compare again, because I like this stuff. Here we go. There's those together. Still so little. But it's still the same fine Kolinsky sable bristles. I'm going to take this guy out for a spin, I think, and see how I like it. But I'm going to mix with the bigger brush, because that's easier. Natural wood. It's not wood grain, but it'll do, I think. It's nice and yellowish. I'm not even sure if I want to do any kind of blending on it with anything else. It's coming out of the bottle pretty thin too. Sometimes the paints that look the oldest are in the best shape. I don't get it. Pardon the blender. Sounds like dinner is getting made. Am I going to thin this? I'll put a little bit of medium in here because I'm a sucker. Ugh. Oh, we just got in a drop of new people. Hello, everybody. If you are just joining the stream, I'm painting the Beer Goat Mini. Here he is. Here's how he is looking. I'm putting down some base coats, including the sort of orange brownish color. I'm trying to talk myself into doing some kind of non-metallic metal effect, so wish me luck. I just think that this model is just stupendous looking. It's super good. As I've stated previously, though, this 3D printed prototype mini, it's probably not going to be exactly like this once we're getting into manufacture. The horns are probably going to be a little different. This little extremely delicate beard of bottles is probably going to get changed. No matter what, we're going to keep the spigot tail, because just look at it. It's funny as heck. The legs are going to get a little bit thicker because he needs a little help. We want him to be strong and not just get snapped off of whatever base he's molded onto. But I love this sculpt. I love the Beer Goat concept. It's just funny. It just makes me happy. And he's going to look pretty good. The painting's going well so far. Also, Otto, here he is. We printed a large size and a small size, and I think that the final Otto is probably going to be between these two, but tending towards the larger size. Because I love his little details. He's got little switches on the side of his head. On the small side, the switches, they snap off pretty easy. And I worry about his wheedly little arms, but in the larger size, his arms are pretty beefy. I can't get him to wiggle just by tapping him. So he's going to turn out pretty good. But I'm focusing on the Beer Goat for painting today, because I just like the Beer Goat model so much. And I'm selfish, and this is my stream, so Beer Goat it is. Let's get this yellow on the road. It's kind of a goldenrod-y color. And get some of that on his horns here. Kind of looking at the art for this and seeing if there's any kind of difference in the horns from the top to the bottom and from where these little bottle hooks latch onto it. Yeah, so this guy has a really good point and a really strong detail spring to it. I don't know if that's necessarily the correct word for me to be using, but it's definitely, this brush is strong for small details. Oh, hello, Where's Walleye? Yeah, isn't the Beer Goat a fun model? I'm gonna switch away from this brush because I just don't feel like it's the right one for this. I'm gonna go with one of my liners. I like using liners for small areas because they carry a bit more paint. And if you are decent at using liners, their shape makes it kind of easy to follow the correct details on the model. Liners are also really good if you're doing freehand painting, in my experience. Here's a spot where I was kind of Leroy Jenkinsing it and getting a bit more orange on the horns themselves. Gonna see if I can't use some of that wood grain sometime here during the stream and make them barrels look all woody. I think I'll probably try to paint the bottle hooks attached to the horns in some kind of silver or gray. I think that's the best way to make that detail distinct. Alright, it's starting to get a little tacky on the brush. Time to go clean. Let's see, what are some other parts on the model that are going to kind of end up this color? Honestly, I might give at least one barrel a wash of this color to kind of unify the color scheme. That should be good. In this part of Paint Stream, Jen talks herself into easy things that she wants to do. There we go. And gonna have to try and tilt under. Oh boy. You know, I feel like the end of this little tail spigot needs to be this yellow. Got a little bit on the wood handle. Let's get that cleaned off before it sets. There we go. thin here. Got a little bit on the wood handle again because I'm a hack. Gonna fix it. We're close to it. It's all going to be okay. Ugh. This model's fun to paint, you guys. Just loaded with details. Oh, I missed a spot under his ear. Let's see if there's just enough of this stuff that's still moist. Problem solved. Let's see, what's the underside of the horns over here looking like? There's still plenty of gray. By the way, in case you're curious, I primed the beer goat with Rust-Oleum 2X Gray Primer. And then I gave him a Zenithal top coat with my extremely cheap airbrush and some white Liquitex ink. Alright. I think that's the base coat on the horns finished. Oh, Choppy! Welcome! It's the gear boat! It's the cheer stout! It's the Lear float. And yeah, it's looking so good. Check out the progress we've made. We've got a base coat on each of the barrels, on the bottom box, on the that sort of orange brassy metal of his body, and the yellow not brass metal, brassier metal of his horns. I don't know. I don't know what metals are. I'm a girl. Ugh, I just love it. And Choppy, since you just got here, once again, check out Otto. He's just a big chonk. I only have time to try to speed paint one model on stream. So Beergut wins. Brass is more gold. Bronze is more brown red. Isn't he thick? He a big boy. And we printed this big boy, and then we printed this littler version, and I think that the final version is going to be in between but leaning towards bigger, because the big boy is just like 2 or 3 millimeters too tall, in my not so humble opinion. But yeah. I know, isn't he a baby? Maybe I would dry brush him. I should have primed him silver and then gone and been done and been like, look, I'm a professional painter. So we're establishing Otto's canon size in this box. I mean, Otto he's sizey-wisey. He's always being worked on by WizGill. So, you know, this is Otto Mark 1, the one that we gamble and drink beer with, and this is Otto Mark 2, the one that we take into a dungeon, and if they're a little different in size, then that's not our fault. Let's see, is there any place else I can slap some of this good yellow that I've got going? Kinda no. I think I'm just gonna, well, probably blend it into the leather for his goggles. But I think I'm going to hit one of the barrels like I said I was going to do. And I think this one's my guy. So let's grab my glaze medium. More like Otto's cannon size. Oh, that's right. Slip in another N. And then it's a pun or a play on words. Boy, Otto with a gun. Seems safe. Just a beer in one hand and a rocket launcher in the other. You know, Eve should probably not be next to the paint water. The one where I flick my brush off. Seems hazardous. Alright. What's another frustrating material for me? Actually. I think some of my most frustrating materials to paint are wood and leather. Which, it's pretty rough for me considering I like fantasy miniatures, which tend to have a lot of wood and or leather. And you know what? Now that I've thinned it, let's use this yellow on this. Do I like it? Well, makes it easier for me to paint the rest of this barrel without crying, so I'm going to take that. Once again, sorry guys for hand cam. Meep. It's a little too much paint in that crevice there, but that's fine. We can go and grab it. And there are a bit of sort of build up between the barrel and the box. I kind of don't like. So I go grab that. It's looking much better. I think that my cat's extremely sad that I'm not letting him into my bedroom while I paint. The cat wants to paint. I'm going to see Lamb tonight. What is Lamb? Explain to me your strange and foreign ways. Is that a band of music? Do they play the instruments? It's an A24 movie. I don't know what A24 is. I live in a cave that gets internet. Perhaps my mind is actually the cave, and everything else is fine. It's the studio that did stuff like The Lighthouse and Hereditary. Oh! So is it a spooky movie? That's very October of you. Alright, that's base coated enough that I feel like I'm not cheating. Although, I don't think it's cheating to not paint something and then go, don't look. Maybe, hopefully, it looks surreal at least. Okay, yeah, surreal could be scary by itself, but usually have a much higher threshold for surrealty than horror. I get scared. I don't wanna see scary movies. I love listening to other people talk about scary movies. That's my jam. I love seeing things that look weird and artsy weird, but I don't like to be scared. Oh my goodness. Alright, I'm gonna let my cat into this room, so that he stops crying. Maybe. Buddy, are you not even here? Are you hiding in my bathroom?
Yeah, I'm hiding in the bathroom.
And screaming into my sink?
No, I'm screaming about the door.
You can come in. No? Do you wanna come into frame so that the fives of people watching this stream can see your beautiful face?
Yeah. I deserve to be famous.
Buddy. I love you, but you're so confusing. Oh, there he is. Hi. You are the perfect cat. Wow, I didn't even get to touch him. Alright, guys. Cat stream's over. Pardon me, and thank you for indulging mutely my strange urge to spoil my cat. Well, what now? I think that yellow can be another wicker bottom for one of these bottles. I see that Aaron in the art was wise and copied some of the bottle designs, and that's good, because each one don't gotta be original. They just can't be all the same one right next to each other. Hand cam again. Here's an open question. How am I going to paint what is probably packing material between the boxes? I don't know, and I'm going to leave that for future gen to decide. Let's see here. Here's my in perfectly good shape Vallejo Game Color Black. There we go. Let's put it down there. This tiny little worm of paint. And then, yeah, the Stonewall gray looks about right. Kind of feels like it's clay from here to here, and liquid from the rest of the way down. Wish me luck. Go, I'm right. Oh, I hate it when I'm right. Alright. Ooh. Joplin Stance says, my buddy was saying he may have convinced the game store we frequent to start carrying Army Painter. That's cool. They have some good products. And if you're a retailer, they have some good, like, product stands. For the longest time, all they've had is Citadel. Yeah, I mean, especially if you are already carrying GW products, you might as well carry Citadel paint. Maybe I can just rinse the needle off. That's good enough. Ish. Sure, I'll take it. And then I put the needle back in the foam because I don't want to stab myself. Army Painter makes a lot of good stuff. I like their strong tones. I like their basing kits. They have a lot of good basing material for a pretty good price. Gosh, what else of theirs do I really like? I like that they have primer cans in a lot of like colors that match their paints. So if you're priming a bunch of orcs, for example, and they're like green with the occasional patch of brown, ultimately you prime them green and then just paint the rest. I like their whole nobody got time for that ethos. I also hear that they are coming out with their own line of not contrast paints. Which I'm excited for. Because contrast paints cost $8 a piece. And if I can get contrast paints for $5 or $6 a piece, I'll be pretty happy with that. Yeah. And I think that Army Painter, I might have seen some signs that Army Painter is trying to do another sort of retailer marketing push of like, hey, buy into our line of paints. They're good. It's not that expensive. We have product displays that you can use. Which, having been a retailer, that's actually huge. It's real nice to be able to just put the product in a place and you don't have to plan the arrangement. You don't have to, figure out exactly how you're going to put things on pegboard. You can save some of your pegboard items. Right now I'm doing his little feet and his legs. At the very bottom in the art, these little bands above his feet are the same color, more or less, as his feet. And I think I'm going to stick with that. I think a little bit of a black wash can make that detail pop without too much effort. Yeah, a good cardboard display kit makes a huge difference. God, what was that product? Where just like we didn't give a dang about it until they gave us a cardboard display kit, and we were like, standing ovation, Citizen Kane applause gif. Seems dumb until you've had to do merchandising. And then you're like, oh, sweet mercy, you have made this easy on me, I love you. One thing I'm having a bear of a time finding nowadays that I don't have a retail store to just wander into and paw around is brass rods for pinning. Because oddly enough, I've been doing a lot of pinning models together lately, or pinning models to bases lately, and I'm running a little low on 1mm brass. And nobody seems to have it. Like, Army Painter sells a pin vise, but they don't seem to have a pin refill kit. And GW doesn't have one at all. And I haven't checked on Reaper's site to see what they've got. But I doubt they have any right now. I have some ordered on the way. I actually went in and was like, okay, fine. Amazon.com, scientific and industrial supplies, and there we go. I could also get 1mm brass tubes, which seems radical, but not what I need. Is there anything else? You know what? Yeah, this is a pretty good color for the neck rubber. Phrasing. I'm sorry I said that. Chopin Stance has watched a nice tutorial online on how to pre-make your own alignment pins on Mesh Mixer for 3D printing. Oh, that's cool. So my assumption is that, for instance, if this head was going to be a separate piece, then that pinning would be like basically just creating the model so that it's, you know, a socket and plug kind of configuration before you even printed it out. I'm just going to sneak a little in right there. Yeah, I think for the neck sections, I'm going to do this sort of mid-tone gray and then do a black wash or two there. Yeah, it was how to slice and then make your own socket and also your own pin for it. That does sound pretty cool. Yeah, when I don't live in an apartment anymore and I get my Slugfest Games official 3D printer, I'm gonna have to tool around with mesh making and slicing and all of that stuff. Ooh, alright. I don't want to get the gray on this orange. Yeah, it's probably good enough right there. Because 3D printing just does a lot of cool things for miniatures, in my opinion. And making my life easier by not requiring me to do quite so much detailed, frustrating pinning is quite nice. Although, let me tell you, I will pin plastic models all day before I have to pin like a really detailed fiddly metal model. It's just so gross. I think I'm gonna do the little pistons inside of the orange leg with this darker gray. create a little bit more variety. Honestly, this model's probably going to turn out a little chaotic. But it's the beer goat. Perhaps it likes chaos. Alright, that's all 4 of those gotten. I like my decision. There we go. My headphone cord was bothering me a little bit, y'all. Let's see, where's that gray I used? Here it is. Or that there Stonewall gray. Oh boy. Okay. When it doesn't come out when you squeeze it firmly, that's a scary moment. Because it could just decide to come out normally, or it could explode all over your palette. Either way, I don't like it. Ugh, I gotta show you guys this. Look at how lumpy and goopy this gray paint is. It's just getting on in years. It turned 21 and had its first few bender weekends. Now it's lost its job. Suspended from college. Its parents are giving up on it. But I'm not giving up. I'm going to use this paint. Let's just start the ankle. This isn't going on particularly smoothly, but it's going to be fine. We'll say this is a significantly warmer gray than I really thought. So I'm probably going to blend it with a cool gray of about the same value and see if I can't neutralize it. Although the metal that his legs are is kind of a warm grayish color. Maybe I should press on. I'm gonna press on. I'm gonna fix that perception problem with washes, I think. And see if that brings it together. It looks so neutral on the palette too. Sometimes that's just going to be how it is when you're painting. You're going to discover things about the way the paint looks next to other colors on the model, and you're going to be like, oh, that's an unpleasant surprise. But it's going to be okay. Let's get that detail in. Let's get that ankle on this side. There we go. I actually saw a really cool tutorial on YouTube the other day on basing, because I'm always looking for cool new ways to base models. And it was about, just using trash to make an industrial base. And that's really just the highest order of basing is, picking up some trash off of the ground and then gluing it to your base. But what really hit me as just being kind of cool tech was they took sort of heavy card like from a cereal box, right? And cut it down to be a topper for the base that they were working on. And they glued it on shiny side up to be this sort of rough urban sidewalk cement kind of surface, or even a semi-metallic surface. And then they just used a ruler and a pen to scratch on different panel edges, dug in rivets with a craft knife, and then just gummed it up with bits. So I'd definitely like to try that soon. Although I don't really have any sci-fi models just begging to be based right now. Oh look, tiny hard to reach, hard to see spot where I didn't get the orange on. How nice to see you. see if I have enough still moist and ready to go. Or oh, it's oh. Do I just have a little bit of life in this little patch? Just enough to get some on the brush. Barely enough to get it on the model. Ugh, alright. Well, there he is so far. Let's get some of that gray on his muzzle there, and then let's try some Vallejo Special Effects Wook Grain Transparent on some of the barrels, and then I think we're going to call it a night. Once again, got to correct for, you know what? Nope. There we go. It smells like bread in here right now, y'all. I'm pretty hungry. Here we go. Get under there. And come at this again with a clean brush. If you're very sharp-eyed, you can see that the tip of this paintbrush is curling a bit when it makes contact with the model, which means that its life is nearly over. And eye has a sad. Yeah. Alright, pleasing. You know what? Well, I have some of this dark gray around. It might not be dark enough, but I'm going to see if I can't use it as a good base for Beard Goats' little go-go lenses. That's too much. it's not perfect, but it's going to be easier to correct it later. There we go. I like it. Let's get this into focus here, and you can see because in the key art, the goggles are kind of a black, honestly, black shininess, showing the metal underneath. Might try to do some shenanigans and have this dark gray and a large black center, and then do the white shines over that. I think that might make it look like it's got some interesting depth. We'll see. Alright. Well, what grain? What grain time? Put the grain down. It's a little more than I wanted, but it's not super important. We're going to try this on one of the darker barrels. So I feel like if it's too much, it's going to be easier to sort of redeem it on one of these guys. Ugh, I kind of like it. I don't necessarily know if it's doing exactly what I think it should in terms of being wood grain, but I like it. It pops. Yeah, I'm liking this. I'm seeing a little gap between the wood and some of the rope, but I'm gonna brown line that later and not mess with it. Not while the wash is drying. And I'm gonna hit this plank with this wood grain effect carefully. Nice, I like it. It looks a lot like the orange of the body, with some different qualities to it. Ruby Knight comes in, says, it's been a while since they found one of the Slugfest streams. You've received your Dungeon Decorators. You've enjoyed it. Excellent. I'm glad that you've had a good time with Dungeon Decorators. Right now I'm painting the Beer Goat from Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. And, I don't know, I'm willing to call this 40% done? Certainly a lot of the base coating finished, which makes me quite pleased. So, it's been 2 hours. Dinner is a calling. So I'm going to put my Beer Goat friend down and wind down the stream, guys. It's been good to paint with you again. It's been good to hear about what you've been up to. Oh, hopefully you had a good time. I don't think that this was a particularly educational stream, but I think that getting a chance to see the Beer Goat first. How many artists do we get to do RDI and other games arts? That's a tough question to answer, because it kind of changes per product depending on what kind of production schedule we're on and who's available. Like RDI 8 has has 3, maybe 4 artists on it. Tales has, I believe, at least 4 artists working on it right now. We've had more over the course of the RDI line, but it's really just something that we've got to sort of play by ear and add artists if we need to, especially, if we know that one of our regular artists is busy, we're like, oh, well, we want to use them for this in this product specifically, and we want to get their best work out of them. Then we'll draw in another, maybe a newer artist, to try and make sure that we reach production deadlines without stressing out our regulars. So that's kind of how that works. Well, hopefully I'll be able to send up some progress shots of this beautiful boy in a week or two, and that might find its way into some Tales from the Red Dragon Inn updates. This was quite fun. If you're interested in painting, there are a lot of great resources out there, and I hope you find them. I hope that you enjoy whatever you do. Oh, one last question. Future Battle for Greyport expansions. We're thinking about it. We are considering both ways to expand Battle for Greyport with new content and to bring the original Battle for Greyport box back into print. I would say keep an eye out. Within maybe a year we'll have something definitive to say. It's going to take us a minute, but we have not forgotten about Greyport. Cool. Beer Goat for Battle for Greyport when? Well, I don't know. I didn't hear about anything like that from stream. Just I'm surreptitiously writing down nothing important on this post-it. And the official answer is because Beer Goat would be a pretty funny hero for Battle for Greyport, and considering what we're thinking of for the next thing, kind of thematically fitting. So Beer Goat's good. Beer Goat in more things, I think, is definitely on our minds. Alright, guys. You have a lovely evening. It's been fun spending time with you. It's been fun painting as usual. Hope to see you again soon. And, of course, that'll be Thursday when we do Legendary Mode. Next expansion, oops, all goats.